Delighted to say we're joined on the line to get the Danish angle by Danish sports writer Rasmus Dam Nielsen. Good morning to you, Rasmus.
Morning, guys.
And thanks a lot for taking our call. I wonder, before we get into the nuts and bolts of this game for tomorrow night, how the nation have reacted to the performance of the World Cup. Obviously, a pretty strong game in the overall sense in the group stages, and had done pretty well there. Came up against obviously a very good Croatia team, which you eventually bowed out to refresh people's memories on penalties there. But just in terms of the reaction since that, Rasmus.
Yeah, of course, everyone was. It was kind of mixed feelings because we thought we played maybe our best game against Croatia. We were so close beating, at that point, maybe the best team in the World Cup. So it was mixed feelings. I think, the goal was to get on from the group. We did that, maybe not playing the best football, but then we... in a Danish way, exploded in the game against Croatia, and so pretty satisfied with the overall performance, I think.
Yeah, and in terms of that sort of mixed feeling, certainly on this side of the water, we tend to get, and I guess it's probably a truism for a lot of footballing and sporting nations, that we tend to get very dialed into the fact that it's the manager's fault, and it's obviously all quite catastrophic. What's the sense there in terms of what went wrong and why it went wrong?
It was actually quite funny because in the group stages, people were a bit frustrated with Åke Hareide. Didn't think that he played, offensively enough. Were very much focused on the defense. But if you look at the Croatia game, the defense was actually what brought us very far against a very good team. So in the end, people was, I think, actually pretty satisfied with what he achieved. He's not, he will never be the manager where people think, oh, he just makes us play fantastic football, but he gets the results, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah, and I guess what he's been able to do, and we've unfortunately seen it ourselves here in Dublin, is that he's been able to get the best out of the best player. We've seen quite often with international teams that it's a lot simpler than it looks. You basically get the best out of your world-class talent if you've got one, and suddenly the results will follow. And he's been able to do that with Christian Eriksen. Of course, in the context of this week, he's not going to have him, but I'm sure the Danish public must appreciate what he's been able to do in terms of getting the best out of Christian Eriksen. Exactly,
and that is by far his biggest achievement. No one, Morten Olsen, who's probably a better skilled coach than Åke Hareide, wasn't able to get the best out of Christian Eriksen. So that is without a doubt Åke Hareide's biggest achievement.
So what does he do without him?
Yeah, what to do without him? We'll see on Saturday. It's a big question here in Denmark because we don't have a natural replacement for Christian Eriksen. I think the player that maybe looks at him the most is Daniel Vaz, and he's out of favor and not even in the squad. I think he will modify the midfield a bit, maybe make it more flat. Still with three in the middle, but I think it might be Pierre-Emil Højbjerg, the Southampton player, who will replace Christian Eriksen. And then you have Lasse Schöne and Thomas Delaney on the side. So Lasse Schöne will be the playmaker, and then Pierre-Emil Højbjerg and Thomas Delaney will be the ones who on turns make the runs in the dangerous areas.
Yeah, it's been interesting reading some of the quotes and the reaction from one of those players, particularly that you mentioned, Thomas Delaney, in the newspapers this week in terms of Eriksen's absence. And I mean, even from a player's point of view, they talk about, what sort of an impact will this guy have when he's not there? And Thomas Delaney saying, well, generally we just give him the ball and we let him go and do his thing. But it sounds like from what you're saying, they're not necessarily going to entirely overhaul the system to kind of reflect his absence.
No, I think, as Thomas Delaney also is saying that he, among others, now will have to be more in possession and keep the ball. And And for the goods of Denmark, he's just switched to Dortmund, where you know, he is forced to be a player with more possession. They are a more possessive team that Werder Bremen, where he played before. And I know that he's been trying to develop his game in terms of being able to play the ball more forward. Like Christian Eriksen is eminently to his. Christian Eriksen is very, very good to, you know, turn over the game and just quickly set up a counter attack, and that will be Thomas Delaney and Pierre-Emil Højbjerg's main focus, I think.
What's the general Danish sense around the Nations League and this group in particular? Let's just stick with the competitive nature for just a moment, because obviously you had that great 2-0 win against Wales, and Wales hammered us a couple of days before that. Denmark must be pretty confident that you're going to top this group and get promoted to Pool A.
Yeah, I think so. To be honest, also our last encounter in the memories, but I think people still have to figure out what to think about this Nations League. There's no doubt that the Danes prefer to qualify directly for the Euros, and then if we lose, if we win, I don't think people have made up their mind yet. But of course, we want to beat Ireland. We want to beat every team that the national team is meeting.
What are your what's the general sense of the state of what you're going to be meeting tomorrow night, Rasmus, in Denmark? What do people think of the Republic of Ireland national team?
I think that it's a team that we have to beat. We proved it last time, and as you know, that feeling sits in football fans. If you beat a team last time, then you should also do it next time if you were as confident as Denmark were last time. So Denmark is not scared of Ireland, but I think that the national players maybe have more respect for the opponents tomorrow than the Danish fans has.
Because there was a suggestion that the Danish team could have been in a spot of trouble there, obviously last month with the futsal players lining out against Slovakia. You got them back for the Wales game, and like the last time I checked in on it, it was a situation where Kasper Schmeichel and Christian Eriksen had agreed to play that Wales game, and all the players obviously did line out, but that the situation with the Danish FA wasn't fully resolved. Is that still the case?
No, it's resolved now.
Okay.
They got an agreement running for 6 years, so that's great. What they did was that the CEO of the Danish Football Federation stepped aside, not down, but just out of the negotiations, and so did the president of the Players Union, the Danish Players Union, and then the board and some of the players stepped together and found a solution that both parts seem to be satisfied with. And to top that off, the Danish Football Association hired a sporting director, as you know it from Germany with Oliver Bierhoff. They hired the former player Peter Moller, a former striker. I don't know if you remember him, but that has been also very well appreciated by the players, because now they have. He's the one who has to take the negotiations next time, and now they can negotiate with the former player, a player who knows, or a person who knows where they come from. So right now everything is settled, and that's the truth. So let's hope it stays that way.
Yeah, like that sounds like a great solution, and it sounds like everything is resolved and that the players are clearly delighted with this 6 years. I mean, it's going to see out a lot of their careers. But is the Danish FA fully happy with this? I mean, it was quite an embarrassing sequence for the Danish FA because it would have looked very, very bad. Like, I think a lot of us would support the players in terms of their arguments last month, because you've only got a very finite playing career and you've got to make as much as you can commercially from that playing career. So the Danish FA didn't reflect too well on them. Is there any lingering sense that, you know, there might be revenge coming down the track, that, you know, they'll get their own back in terms of saving face down the line, or have they taken the loss, so to speak?
I think they've taken the loss because if they continue this, it will only, you know, create more chaos and more what we say unpopularity amongst the people. So I think the only interest of the Football Federation is to just close this right now.
Yeah, there's been certainly a lot of conversation about the overly violent personal attacks, was the expression I think that was used by Christian Eriksen, in fact, in relation to those discussions. Just finally, before we let you go, Rasmus, we haven't beaten you in a competitive game since 1979. Do you expect that to change tomorrow?
Honestly, no. Sorry, guys. I hope and think Denmark will win 2-0. Right.
That's depressing, but possibly quite accurate. It does sound like as if you've got your hands full there as well in the background. Thanks a million for taking the call this morning.
Thank you.
Cheers, thanks a lot. Rasmus Dam Nielsen on the line there from Denmark ahead of this game tomorrow night. 2-0 to Denmark, on.
Yeah, that would be obviously a terrible result from an Irish perspective. We can basically... Could we write off the Nations League then, in terms of getting promoted? Obviously, it'd be game over. Exactly. Finishing second, though, there's still an incentive in that in terms of seeding for the European qualifications and stuff like that. It would mean, though, that we would need to beat Wales at home and probably go and get something in Copenhagen as well, depending on other results. So wouldn't be a great sort of reflection, especially because Christian Eriksen won't be playing if we get beaten 2-0 without Eriksen.
Now, we did up our graphic, obviously, pre-Christian Eriksen's stomach issues, so that'll explain that. But it is the game is live on a bloody long off the ball. I mean, I say that in a positive sense. Off the ball tomorrow on the radio. So it's Nathan and Stephen Hunt in commentary for Ireland versus Denmark in the UEFA Nations League. It's a 7:45 kick-off there, but as I said, it's a long show. It's on air tomorrow from 1 o'clock and on until 10 p.m. There's a couple of live Heineken Champions Cup commentaries to throw into the mixer there as well. But yeah, full live and extended commentary of Ireland-Denmark tomorrow.